Still some questions on the table, and for answers, we look to the interim commissioner of the Big East, Joe Bailey. Joe, it is great to have you on the show. We appreciate your time. How's your week going so far?
Well, my week is going great, and I'm very much looking forward to chatting with you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, a pleasure. Joe, does it feel like this conference is in a state of flux, or do you feel, at least for right now, maybe you found some stability?
Well, I would say to you that I've been here about a month. I've been through our conference meetings, our annual meeting. I met all of the ADs. I've spoken with every president. I've met all of the coaches, and I can tell you from my point of view, everybody seems to be extremely positive about the future of the conference. And, of course, the unintended consequences, in one sense, of the expansion makes this conference a national conference. It's the only conference in the United States that sort of reaches coast to coast. And it's extremely important to have San Diego State as part of that because clearly they're not only going to be important here, but also today, but also in the future as we continue to grow the conference.
And, Joe, I'm reading how you guys are trying to get some bowl games out west, and I guess if you want to be a national conference, I guess that does make sense. But what is the real payoff for you guys if you do get control or get in bed, if you will, with the Poinsettia Bowl?
Well, I can. Those are the types of things that will be discussed when the permanent commissioner is in place, and we hope to have that person in place in August. So those are much more long-range discussions. I do know, however, that our football people have talked a lot about those types of things, and it's like anything else. This is going to be a dynamic conference. And those are the types of things that we would look to do.
Joe Bailey is the interim Big East commissioner joining us on San Diego Sports Leader XX 1090. And, Joe, the transition from John Marinato to yourself, and like you said, maybe 3-4 months, a new commissioner. What was the exact reason that people were talking about for the ousting of John Marinato?
Well, I don't honestly know. I know that that John Marinato was a really important person in the history of this conference. He was very well regarded, very well respected internally, but it's like anything else, the times do change, and the decision was made. But conversely, John is an important part of this family here, and he made that decision to resign. Certainly was his. What I think that everybody recognizes is that no matter who the leader might be, you're only as good as the members and the partners and the colleagues that you have, both within the conference office itself and also in the various institutions. This is really a broad-gauged conference with really well-respected schools, really good athletic programs that want to be peak performance organizations and want to be continued to improve. And I don't think you've got a better example in the conference today than San Diego State, and under the leadership of Jim Sturk, your athletic director. I mean, it's really, really a perfect school for this conference for any number of reasons.
You know, Joe, as I listen to you speak about this, and I agree, San Diego State should be a nice addition, especially if you guys are looking to go national, which you obviously are. But I am born in New York, raised in New Jersey. I remember back in 1991, Rutgers made the decision to join the Big East. They built a beautiful football stadium, and I'm saying to myself, my goodness, the Big East is truly one of the giants. And then you lost Miami, and then you lost Virginia Tech, and you lost Boston College. Now you're losing Pitt, you're losing Syracuse. Was there ever a true worry? And I know you say you've only had this position for a month. Was there ever a true worry that the Big East truly may dissolve?
No, I don't think so, because these things, nothing ever stays the same anymore, and sort of change is the new norm. So you have to get used to it. But when certain schools will leave, other schools will take their place. And think of Boise State as an example. Boise State's football program and athletic programs are fabulous programs. They're national programs now, so things don't necessarily always remain the same. Think of SMU, who had fabulous athletic programs. Mm-hmm. University of Houston, terrific athletic programs across the board. So whether it's Memphis State or those others that I just mentioned, they just add a sort of new, fresh dynamic to the conference itself. So all I can tell you is from coming out of those meetings in Florida, I really felt a sense of a positiveness in terms of all of the coaches. at the end, every coach wants to compete, and they want to be able to coach against the very best they possibly can and be successful. So I saw nothing but positives out of it.
The interim commissioner for the Big East, Joseph Bailey, is joining us. And, Joe, like you mentioned, the positives here in San Diego, we are thrilled with the idea of the Aztecs going to the Big East, mainly because it's connected to that nice price tag, and that's a result of this great TV deal. Now, here in the Mountain West Conference, being connected to the Mountain Network was just terrible, not being able to generate much revenue. Can you explain for our listeners and the fans out here about this upcoming TV deal that would generate, I've heard, anywhere from $6 to $8 million for San Diego State?
Well, number one, for us to operate in the sort of the expectation market or the what if market is really it's not the way we think. The way we think is the way of in reality, and we have to manage based on reality. So the reality is that we begin media negotiations in the fall. And we do know that there are a number of media companies that have a significant interest in the Big East for any number of reasons. You'd have to ask them particular reasons, but I can tell you one of them clearly is the national footprint with time zones covered, et cetera. And we believe at the end we will have a partner or a series of partners that will be very good for the future of all of the institutions. And that means both from a quantitative standpoint, but also from a qualitative standpoint. The type of partner that you choose is someone that's going to have shared values with you. And just as all of the schools have, while they have different points of views, at the end of the day, it's a big community of institutions and alumni. But it's really, really important for us to sort of think about the future of the conference. ESPN clearly has been fabulous for us. They've been a wonderful partner. But by the same token, there are others that have an interest in us as well. So I think at the end, we'll make a selection not necessarily just based on monetary terms, but also on what they're going to do as far as enhancing the image and the branding and the brand of the Big East.
Will the branding and the image of the Big East be strong enough, Joe, that when the NCAA, or however you want to say it, they create their new way of coming across a national title, whether it's the +1 or a Final Four, or all different types of things they're throwing out there, when this thing is all figured out as far as how they will go about crowning a champion, do you think the Big East Conference will have enough cachet to get a piece of that pie and be involved with all that?
Well, our business, we're in the education business. That's number one. And number two, and we're in the education business in terms of giving college athletes the best experience you possibly can have.
Sure.
We've got so many schools that have so many different kinds of sports, and particularly in football, et cetera, that we've got all different kinds of options and look at all different kinds of options in order to maximize that experience on behalf of the college athlete. So that's our primary focus is that. In terms of cachet and the rest of it, I would say to you that the conference itself is very unique now because not only does it have a rich tradition, certainly as far as competition is concerned, but also now it stretches coast to coast. I think so that makes us awfully unique, and I think that not only is great for our college athletes that are here today, but also ones that are considering the schools and attending those schools in the future.
Hey, Joe, honestly, Aztecs fans enjoy hearing the answers because we've had so many rumors and we read articles and speculation. I know you cannot speculate, but if Boise State just can't.
Wait a minute.
Just can't?
What's this if stuff?
I'm sorry, that was a terrible setup.
that was really rewind.
Okay, how about this? Will San Diego State always be welcome, even if they're not connected to Boise State on the West Coast?
Well, I hope I've made my point. That San Diego State is a huge component of the future success of this conference. And they're great for a reputation standpoint, for their quality of play, for the coaches that they have, for the track record, for the 200,000 alums that they have that stretch coast to coast. It's just a great institution for this conference, and I know that the rest of the members couldn't be more pleased to have them part of the Big East.
Well, I like that answer, Joe.
Love it.
Certainly a politician. I love it. My last one for me is that here in San Diego State, we have a very funny relationship with BYU. And when we left the Mountain West Conference, it was a little bit of a void in our life because we like rivalries. And I know the Big East has been talking about getting BYU, but what is it as far as getting them to join the Big East? Do you have to appease them? Are they saying come to us? What's that whole relationship working out like?
Well, that's quite a question. Okay, let me see if I can answer it for you. I would say to you that we the conference have an awful lot to offer any institution. We would like to believe that there are a number of different institutions that would think that they would very much like to be associated with the rest of this community. And when you think of it for a second, these are what these are. These are communities of people. You either join a community because you like what these communities represent, or the community has to accept you for what you represent. And then also the third piece of communities is what others think about the community. We believe that the outside world thinks of this community as a very substantial one that has an enormous amount of value in terms of the individual. The institutions are concerned of what they represent. So we would hope that there are quite a number of schools that eventually would like to be a part of this particular community.
I like it. Joe, well said. We appreciate your time. It is great to have you on this show. We're wishing you and the conference the very best.
Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.